Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It's a chess show on Pod TV. My name is Sasha Star, and today we have two professors, Ken Regan and Dan Fleetwood. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me on. Snowy day here in Buffalo again.
Same in Toronto. And what about you, Dan?
I'm in transit at Reagan National Airport.
Oh, wow.
Okay. Wow.
It's bright and sunny here.
Okay.
Nice, beautiful. Well, next week I will be in Florida. Hopefully, we'll get some sun there. So let's talk about today the America Cup. I think it was a fantastic event with two distinguished winners. Of course, Wesley So and Alice. I forgot her last name.
Alice Lee.
Alice Lee. That's what it was.
Repeat. Yeah.
Yeah, I was mesmerized yesterday with this rapid playoff between her and the Carissa. Forgot her last name.
Carissa Yip.
Carissa Yap. Yeah.
Carissa
Yeah.
Yip.
Everybody thought that she's a favorite to win, but I thought that Alice Lee actually has better chances, and that's what proved to be the case. Well, hopefully we will see the first game of this match.
I have to say Alice Lee is one of my puzzles because her FIDE rating is 2399. But I routinely had her over 2,500 in basic strength. She must have had poor results in some tournaments that I didn't see. So to me, it's no surprise that she's won the women's division of this event 3 years on the trot. I mean, she's 15 or 16. She's got more headroom. So, and so does Carissa. But at any rate, Alice Lee, was tough as nails at some points where it mattered. Even a choice she made in the last rapid game to kill it dead, so she only needed a draw, rather than go for a win that was probably there for the asking. Now, I should say something about the format of the tournament. It's a wild format. It's a double elimination knockout. The main section, the winner's bracket, so to speak, is played at 90 plus 30 classical pace. The losers drop down to the other bracket where they play rapid games, a little slower form of rapid, 25 minutes up front, 10 seconds increment per move, giving you 35 minutes to turn 60. And then the person who emerges from the loser's bracket plays a match, could often be a second match against the winner of the original bracket at the slow pace. Now, if the person in the winner's bracket wins, that's the end of things. Okay, that's what Wesley So did to Levon Aronia. But if the loser's bracket player wins in the second match, then they play a third match. But since they both lost once, they play by the rules of the loser's bracket in rapid. And that's exactly what happened with Alice Lee and Carissa Yip. Compounding the fun is that tie breaks in both brackets are blitz. So I had to monitor blitz time control, rapid time control, and slow time control. I have different coefficients for each speed.
It's not easy.
Yep.
I have to say it was confusing to watch for someone who had not had the rules explained as clearly as you just did.
Okay. Yeah. It's some things needed explaining to me, even though this is the fourth time I've monitored this tournament.
I think they were a little bit short on explanations. They would show the table where it says, okay, two games at classical control, 2 games of rapid control, but they wouldn't explain all the intricacies of who is playing whom and what's the consequences of the match if it's lost or if it's drawn or whoever wins the match and who will be playing whom playing next. And it was very difficult. Unless you follow the tournament from, say, day one until the last day, then slowly you get kind of puzzle in your head. But if you occasionally watching a game or two here and there, it doesn't make sense a lot.
Yeah, that's right. The confusing element for me is that the games were not sorted chronologically. I mean, usually, when you have a Swiss tournament, 1 round per day, 2 rounds per day, the rounds are chronological, so the games are chronological, whereas I had to hunt for new games. So I searched by date. But sometimes the dates on chess.com are wonky too, so it was a little bit of an adventure.
Yeah.
I missed one of Arena Crush's games for a while during the event. But
Well,
I actually the rapid playoff at the end because I thought it was over when Carissa Yip had won the Armageddon game in the first match. So
right, that was just the second match.
Right,
against,
exactly.
Yeah.
I found that out later.
So, yeah. So, okay, I've chosen 3 games for the event. The other thing that's notable is that with the women, it was really the youngsters. I mean, we had Rachel Lee and one other winning early on, defeating Arena Crush and Anna Zatonsky. Whereas in the guys bracket, it was the oldsters. Caruana, Aronian, and So were the main story of the event throughout.
Yeah, also they were rating favorites anyway, in
Right.
spite of being older.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I have a really good game to represent Wesley So, that won him the match defending the winner's bracket, as I put it. And so I'll share it here. Tell me when you see the board. He is white against Levon Aronian,
Yes.
and this is a starts as a Giocco to be a game, and then Aronian decides to mix it up. And maybe, Dan, you can tell me about this opening. So you're seeing the board yet?
Yes, we see.
Okay. So basic way of playing the various ways to get into this kind of formation. And now Aronian plays actively with the bishop on c5, continuing as more in 2 knights defense fashion. And then after this move, rather than play c3, for instance, so trying to set up right away and maybe not commit a formation, Aronian decides to open the center. Now, is there a track record on this? Dan,
This is thematic. This is thematic in similar lines in the Berlin. G5 as early as move 5 is completely sound there. Here, maybe it looks a little premature, but I don't know this exact line well.
Yeah, well, the engine is giving a plus 0.4 to white, and now white wants to. So normally, what the engine is saying, white can safeguard the long diagonal of the bishop by playing a4. I would rather play a3 here, but it doesn't bang the drum as loudly. It's also, of course, rook e1 is a natural move, putting pressure on black center. And now black drives white's bishop back to b3 rather than it could have been nestled away on a2. And bishop g4. So this now, again, optically over the board, I think black is fine. Black is ahead in development, has the center, has restraint on white's pieces. The engine is giving half a pawn advantage to white. I mean, some of it is initiative, but still, this is, I guess, is researching chess with engines. I would never plan to go into this with white if I were just analyzing chess over the board. I always try to avoid having my knight on f3 perpetually pinned, although it must be said white can dissolve the pin, and that's the point of white's next move, white's whole plan. So I don't know. So black decides to capture, and now relying again on center and strong points, but white does have the bishop pair. Okay, let's harass that bishop a little bit, make it go back off the long diagonal, then king h8. So white's White's edge is a little bit persistent. The engine wants black to trade off the dark squared bishops to get rid of White's bishop pair, and I have to say that's probably the move that I would play. But Aronian, not having used much time, so still in some sort of prep, I would imagine, spent 3 minutes on the king move, but had not used much time up to that. Decided to just play it slow, and then did not have the right idea in mind for dealing with White's natural knight outpost move. So what Aronian thought he had time for was to play bishop f6 and g6, driving away the knight, and have the bishop nicely fianchettoed and supporting the center. Okay, so bishop g5 was the computer's move. So the problem with this is that black thinks he has guarded the d4 square multiple times over, but the fury of White's bishops is going to be released if black tries to capture anything. So it turns out that when I say fury of the bishops, they're coming this way, and this may be what Aronian overlooked. So if you don't have a G pawn, you don't have the ability to block White's bishops with G6. So you can't play that. So you have to play this, and it just gets very rickety. Okay, so black has to sacrifice the exchange basically by playing rook a5, else it's checkmate. So, so this is what Aronian underestimated, and he only used 6 minutes on his reply. He said, "Okay, never mind, it's a shock, but I'm going to carry through my plan of driving back your knight." But the knight wasn't about to be driven back. So it's the same problem. You can't capture the knight because White's queen and bishop are going to crash through with mate on h8. Okay, so you got to do the rook. Okay, now the knight moves, but White has extracted several concessions. In particular, black's bishop on f6 is pinned in a very curious manner. Can't go back to g7, or I could probably snap the f pawn. You have to look, is White's queen getting trapped? I don't think so. So, so now d4, but White is under no obligation to recapture this pawn. So, I mean, rook a d1 is an attractive move that keeps the edge, but White is even better than that. It's one of those, if you see a good move, wait, there may be a better one. And so this now, again, puts black's bishop. So here's another one of these decision positions. The computer's best move for black is bishop e7, but this is so abject. And it also looks like you could get mated on the long diagonal, and you're exposing the f pawn. White has better things to do than to take it. And actually, no, White just takes it. So it's you can't play bishop g7. Okay, so that really does lose stuff. Hello, getting your queen and king for it. That's why you have to keep the bishop on this line. But what Aronian did, trying to stay active, is to play the bishop to a5, h4. You're still ahead in time, but now rook a d1, and so Aronian tries to push back, but White just has a lot of places to go. It can go to b7, can go to e6. This is maximum activity for just one pawn, so Aronian tries to cut down White's attackers, but already has given back that pawn. And now, so it's just very awkward for black. You can't play bishop g5 because White just takes it and loses and wins the knight. So, so black tries to keep the queen, guarding the knight along the h file, but now that just lets White waltz in and win the bishop that way. And black gets a few checks, but now the game is basically really over. And so finishes off in a very nice fashion. White doesn't have to play with a flourish. Even just bishop f4 wins. But, if you have enough time on the clock, you can calculate things like this. So we're going to evict black's king. And queen g8 is mate, isn't it? Wait, is queen g8 mate? No, it's not. White's bishop is not guarding g8. So you play this. Okay, and now White's knight comes in to deliver the final blow. White's up in exchange. This is just disastrous. Okay, that's the last defender gone, and so it's funny. It looks like there may be some checks for black here, but that too is an illusion, because when you play here and you play here, White's knight is guarding the squares, and even if you play the queen, even if you could play the queen down here, White's knight would still interpose with check. So there is no perpetual check here. So Aronian gave up. So,
Yeah, it seemed like Wesley was really in good form for this tournament, playing very, very, very good technique.
yes, and he was very solid in a lot of the other games. It was remarked that the classical games and the opening phases of the tournament, which you could find down here, were very solid. And they often went to the tie break. So here is Wesley So against Ray Robeson, drew the first two games, and you can tell that they are reduced endgame positions. And then when it got to the tie breaks, that's when they mixed things up more. Same thing with Sevian. Although Sevian won his game against match against Leonard Dominguez in regulation, but Erwan de Leon had two endgame draws to begin that quarterfinal. And Caruana did dispatch Abhimanyu Mishra quite well. So, yes, but very solid. And he was Wesley So's play in the semifinals against Sevian was also, again, very careful, and then mixed it up in the blitz. Wesley So is a very strong blitz player. So probably there are good games there to follow too. But I actually want to feature two games from the great Alice Lee, Carissa Yip, Donnybrook. Okay, this must be Alice Lee's. Wait, this is a blitz, one of the blitz playoff games. So this is her blitz rating. Again, crazy low. So this is a blitz game, but it really is a Donnybrook game. So good game to show. So Carissa Yip, unafraid to go for a win, even with making concession. I think this was the first game. It was an odd game of a round. So they were tied. Carissa Yip was not needing to win on demand as black here, but still played in a very enterprising manner. Engine gives White a half pawn advantage, but there's everything to play for. And b6, wow, that's a move that I used to play, and I used to lose with it. So what's going on here? Okay. So now, interesting juncture right away. Okay. This move weakens the A2, G8 diagonal. But it's a question of, White might have to sack something to take advantage of it. So do you know your opening theory? Can you calculate it? But either of these two caveman-like moves, bishop c4, okay, threatening to capture, play knight g5, and then trap black's queen with knight e6, or the other option, knight g5 for White, the engine says, yeah, go for it. Okay, we need to analyze it quite a bit. But Alice Lee was happy just to play with a slight pull that you usually get in these positions and can nurse. So we nurse it for a while until the game gets pretty wild. Okay, so this also, I don't like developing my knight to c6 in this kind of position. I'd rather have the knights on f6 and d7, but who am I to say? So White decides to just play with forces in the center, and White has actually probably objectively lost most of the advantage now, but very solid, everything to play for kind of position, and things can get fairly wild even with more reduced material. So we're going to reduce the material still more. Okay, this to me now is optical equality for black. Black's knight on a5 is doing good things. And black has the pawns on the opposite color from the bishop, unlike white. So black's position is a little more sensible strategically. And the only reason the engine is still giving white a tiny plus is that white does have the nice center pressure on the E file, which probably outweighs what black is doing on the C file. But nevertheless, we trade some more pieces. So now black has the better bishop, and the computer does say, okay, yeah, dead even, and only if white plays queen d1 to defend the A pawn. So definitely advantage black as far as the conduct of the game, but it's hard for black to do something. Black has to, the minority attack idea with b5 is there, but that's not what black does. This is where the game is going to get wild. So white, I guess, tries to restrain the minority attack idea, although b5 is the computer's recommended move, but Carissa gives blitz, down to a minute. Just play solid and then make Luft, make a nice pawn wedge. I don't know what that move is really for. It does, however, it's like waving a red bull to white's idea of opening the king side to get some play over there to counteract black's queen side. And that's even more after black keeps her good bishop. So now student body right, as Yaz would say. Okay. And already here, black, is being a little sing-song. So that move is given a question mark. And it's time for white to get things going with g4. Or if you don't want black to be able to close with h4, you can play h4 yourself first and then play g4. But okay, well, we do something else. We incurse on the a7 line, and black actually has to start thinking about getting rid of white's attackers, in particular blocking on d6 so that you can play rook c7 and neutralize the 7th rank. But in fact, black does not do so, and the 7th rank becomes the conduit by which death is delivered. So bishop g7 this way, so maybe underestimating the danger, but there we go. Already black has to defend something on the 7th rank. Okay, and now things get wild again. So white can just keep a dark square bind, maybe worried about black's b4, but play here, and if black plays b4, then white can just ignore what's going on here. Okay, we capture, and we are ganging up on f7, and you can't really defend it except to play this. But now once you do that, other leaks are going to spring. I'm just going to pause and capture this pawn, and black is completely tied up. So 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 white could have, but in blitz it's hard to see these things. So white decides to come the queenside way, and well, black does her thing, but now is miscalculated the very blunt thing, or it's completely overlooked the very blunt idea white has in mind. Black is thinking white's going to play rook a6, rook 1 a6, and that is in fact what white played. But the blunt idea would just play rook e7, and black cannot really stop the gang up on f7. And in fact, the e8 square is not even available to black's queen. Okay, rook a7, queen c8. But now white starts getting together and realizes, oh yes, I can. I don't have to defend what's going on c3 because it's only one pawn in this way, and I can start ganging up on the 7th rank. And so here he comes. Black defended in advance, and actually queen e5 check first was more accurate. So last chance for black to defend by getting some air with e5, and did so, but needed to follow up with queen e6 to deny the f6 square. Instead, black allowed white into f6, and now what happens is brutal. So maybe you're only down to 7 seconds in blitz. Maybe you miss that you can't take on e6, but it gets even more fun than that for the end. The end is queen takes g6 check and mate. So triumph of the 7th rank. Now, so obviously a blitz game is not going to be perfect, but this was anyway interesting play by White, conserving some energy in the position and eventually taking advantage of Black's indiscretions, of which the H5 move was one. Well, I have one other game. I should show a game where Carissa Yip plays to advantage, and this is a slow game against Anna Zatansky. And again, just very nicely conducted thematically by Black. Okay, so first equalizing, and then we play Bogo Indian defense with A5, and then taking the opportunities that are given. Okay, so E5, this is how I would play this kind of position. So I already like what Black is doing. And unlike other Catalan positions, the Fianchetto White Bishop is actually not exercising a whole bunch of influence on the main diagonal. Because in this position, Black can play C6. White can't challenge it with B4, B5 so easily. And if White plays D5, Black will happily block with C5, or maybe block by capturing on D5, because Black has the better bishop with a pawn structure like this. So C6, okay, so the G2 bishop is blocked. Black reinforces the strong point. Nimzovich would like this the way White is playing. Black is playing, massive overprotection of E5, but just putting the pieces on their most harmonious squares. And Zatansky decided to release the tension. And already you could see from the clock times that Zatansky has expended almost 30 more minutes and maybe is really hesitant about what kind of plan to do. So you capture in the center. Are you going to follow through with Queen F5? Did you calculate it? Does the moves by the knight on D7 bother you? And I guess she decided not to. She didn't want to put a piece on E4 either. Didn't want to play E4 for a quick F4. White's rook is on D1 anyway, so that's mistimed. So now Zatansky decides to play like this, but Black's getting in the move G6 is a nice tempo, because Bishop F5 may arrive with tempo. So he trade off some pieces. The engine still thinks White is fine, and White was able to play this move, taking advantage of the discovery on A8. But the question is, what does it do next? So White decides to play C5 rather than B5. The engine actually wants White to play B5. Okay, so thereby taking the Catalan bishop out. And then Bishop F5 gains a tempo, and I guess we just play chess. So this is, in fact, exactly what I would do. I would gain the tempo, and then I would block with C5. Okay, and Black to my eyes is fine. You can also, if you block with C5, is White playing B6, G6, B6 or something? No, White is playing Bishop E4, preventing the putting the bishop on a good square. That's why you want to play Bishop F5 first. Okay. So anyway, but that's not. But Zatansky actually played more thematically to put the pawns on dark squares. So now her bishop is good. I won't say it's better than Black's, because the E5 pawn is still the main pawn in this position, and Carissa Yip has very craftily led White to block her own bishop in. Okay, so we just play this position. White has a strong square on D6. Can we use it? That's the theme of this position. So anyway, so White tries to put some pressure on Black, but Black can defend. So it's a real question. Can White use D6? Black's trumps in this position are that Black's pawns have more to do by advancing than White's does. So H5, H4, very much in the cards. And White is trying to to ready the h4 move in return.
Yeah, and a huge clock advantage for black.
Yes, that is also true. Yeah. So, so now black starts infiltrating. This might have been the answer to h4 as well. Okay. So there's going to be nice moves. Here comes the h5 idea for black, and so let's take a look and see. So why white couldn't play h4? Well, h4 appeared on the board, but it weakens the g3 square. So here is the beautiful judgment play by Carissa Yip. It does not give a winning advantage, but it gives white plenty of trouble when you're down under 5 minutes. So rook takes e2 check, and now queen takes g3. Okay, so here we go. So exchange for a pawn, maybe win the h pawn too. Black's bishop on e6 really does make black's king safe, so long as e5 doesn't fall. Okay, white can't get behind black, and now just the question is, can white keep this position together? Well, that's something white can do, but now white's rook is away from the board, so we repeat moves, and then Yip decides to go for it with the passed h pawn, which white's rook cannot defend. So here we go. So now white plays. It would require analysis to see how white can organize a defense here. White plays natural moves, it must be said. Okay, why can't white capture this pawn? It's because black's speed racer is going to come first. So white decides to try to. I don't know what the idea of that is. I guess the idea is trade queens and white's king can pose the pawn, but it's a miscalculation because
I think the idea was to not lose on time.
Right. Yeah, you're right. There's 2 minutes left, so this is just a miscalculation. Whichever way white's king goes, it's bishop mate, and that was the end of the game. So.
Well, it's a triumph of youngsters over the veterans. Both Irene Krush and Anna Zatonsky, who won the U.S. Championship total 12 times together.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're getting out of the picture now.
Yeah, they were out in the first round. Yeah. So.
Well, what can I say? Thank you so much for today's program. And there were a lot of wonderful games that we haven't seen yet, but maybe in some future programs we will. And candidates are not too far.
Right.
Starting pretty soon. So please have a good weekend, and all our listeners as well. All the best, and we'll see you next time, same place, same time next week.
Okay, thank you. Yep. Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Have
again.
a great weekend. Yeah, thank you so much.
Okay.
Safe travel.
Yeah, thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.